Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Indie Pop with the Last Mark Standing podcast, consisting of yours truly, Damian Salty G, and my world-renowned partner, the Marquis Smart Heel Trina herself.
Hi, guys.
New Age Insiders gives us a lot of leeway to talk about independent wrestling because there's not many shows out there that really talk about it. Here at Last Mark Standing, lastmarkstanding.com, we try to include as many people as we want. So with that being said, there are a couple of topics of note, even before we came on air, that we didn't think we were going to talk about, but we're going to have to because there's some misconceptions out there about certain federations and companies and the life and times of an independent wrestler, because it's not as it was, let's say, 10 to 15 years ago. You don't have ECW bingo halls. I mean, you do have these what is it, Knights of Columbus halls, Elks Lodges, and someone called it shindy wrestling, as in shitty indie wrestling this past weekend. Never say that, but I know the person, and Trina knows, and I'll tell her off air who the person was.
Yeah, well, I've been to shows that could be considered shindies, Even some wrestlers, they call them shit feds.
Yeah, shit feds. And that's all fine. That's all interpretation. That's all subjective. But I had an interesting weekend. Friday, I went to a show called it's BCW, and you can find them on Twitter. Bree Combination Wrestling. I don't know what the Bree stands for. I believe it's based on a clothing line.
Oh, interesting.
Is trying to get off the ground. So that was interesting. And then Saturday was House of Glory 6, which I have ad nauseum talked about to a lot of our audience about. This is the premier New York City independent federation founded by Amazing Red. And they always wind up getting a lot of good independent wrestling talent or former WWE or WCW or ECW talent. And I had the privilege and the honor of watching the Dudleys and the Hardys one more time.
So jealous.
At House of Glory, going up against a couple of it, which you need to be made aware of, which I will get into. Trina has some knowledge she wants to drop on the audience. And here at Last Mark Standing, we tend to like to educate the folk. So there was something I didn't even know about, and essentially it was a match type or based on a promotion called CZW, Combat Zone Wrestling, for those who don't know. And they have something called the Cage of Death, Trina? Am I being correct in that?
Cage of Death? Cage of Death, yes. Okay. Yeah. It's their end of the year pay-per-view.
Okay, so like akin to what House of Glory was doing, CZW, and I found out this weekend they actually do have a working arrangement. They have a very good working arrangement, a talent exchange. So that's pretty interesting in and of itself. But Cage of Death, for those who are uninitiated, and I didn't know, Trina, would you like to shed some light for the audience of Indie Pop as to what exactly a Cage of Death consists of?
Okay. I mean, maybe I'm wrong about this. We're both still learning about a lot of different organizations and things like that. But I mean, I would consider CZW, which is Combat Zone Wrestling, to be probably the most violent of, sort of big name indies. They have a lot of big names, Sami Callihan, Desmond Xavier, Zachary Wentz from over at Rockstar. They fight there a lot, and David Starr. And so, it is pretty violent. There's a lot of blood. Some of the craziest bumps of the year. I think there's a GIF going around of a guy going through 3 tables. That was from CZW. And so the Cage of Death event is their last. It's their last event of the year. It's the end of year event. And so the Cage of Death is a steel cage where they can use weapons. So, if this is the most violent fed out there, just that's what it entails. I mean, we're talking like light bulbs, thumbtacks, baseball bats with barbed wire, everything you can think of. I mean, people are bloody. I know you used to be a big ECW fan, which I wasn't actually. I didn't really watch it at all. I imagine it was just like that, sort of. So it's not everybody's cup of tea. A lot of people refuse to watch CZW, and some people didn't watch Cage of Death, and actually Vice just did a documentary about them, about being one of like the ultra violent indie wrestling promotions out there. So I mean, there's a lot of information out there about CZW. So if you don't want to watch it, like you can learn about it, you can see who's wrestling there, and you can see gifts and things like that. But yeah, it's a different style. Obviously Chikara is on the opposite end of that, for example. Chikara is super family friendly, no cursing, no offensive t-shirts, like they will kick you out if you are being like offensive to, anybody that's like 5 years and younger or something like that, so just look at it as the other end of the spectrum from Chikara. It is, Cage of Death. So it is exactly what it says it is. It's not like the, Brock Lesnar, Dean Ambrose match that was supposed to be awesome and wasn't. They really do use weapons. People really bleed. It's pretty crazy. Dave Chris and Dave Starr actually have had like a trilogy over at CZW with some amazing matches. I think they did the third match earlier this year, and it just like went all around the stadium, like wherever they were holding the event. Like all sorts of weapons were used. People were jumping off things. Like it was just, it was really insane because like I know Dave Chris and I felt like very emotionally scarred watching it, because it's like I can't really watch this. Like, like I know this person, and it just like gave me chills like when I was watching it. So it's pretty tough. Like if you're not into that kind of wrestling, it's not going to be your cup of tea. So it was funny because I watched Cage of Death. This event was last week, I think. So it's a week old. I think it aired last Friday or Saturday. And so I watched it, and I started, like tweeting about it, and I was excited, and and people were like, "Oh, let's go!" And I was like, "I want to go." And a couple people jumped on the bandwagon, and someone said that it was their first indie match or like their first indie event, and I was like, "Oh, this, like we have to take you somewhere else." like I'm like, it's like it cannot be CZW. Like we cannot have your first indie event be CZW. And I know this person too, because I know this person in particular doesn't really like violent matches. I mean, really, I was just like, let's not take you here. And so, hopefully we'll take him to another indie event where, he'll enjoy the wrestling a little bit more. But CZW is definitely not the place to take, a WWE mark or a wrestling fan who's never seen sort of the ultra violent wrestling. It's not really the event to take them to, because even the crowd, like the crowd is even what you would think ultra violent indie wrestling would be, like there's a lot of guys. I didn't see a lot of girls in the crowd. I watch a lot of their events, and I rarely see girls. And even some of the wrestlers, like told me, it's like, I don't think it's safe for you to come and like be just a single girl in the crowd. So, which my rebellious side is like, oh, well, obviously I want to go now, like I want to go tomorrow. That's how much I want to go. So, yeah, I mean, so that's CZW. That's a little, lesson on CZW. If you guys don't know, it's run by DJ Hyde. I watch it personally. It's not necessarily because I do like the ultra violence. It's because a lot of the people on their roster are people that I follow. Like I said, like Sami Callihan, Zachary Wentz, Desmond Xavier, Dave Chris, Jake Chris. Like they all wrestle for CZW. So I end up watching their pay-per-views all the time. Like, and people are like, how can you do that? How can you watch it? I can't watch it, blah, blah, blah. And so, but that's your little lesson on CZW.
Yeah. And to be quite honest, I don't know if I'm a CZW fan based on what you said.
Right.
Yeah. And
I didn't I didn't make it sound great.
I'm an old school ECW guy. So with that being said, I think I'm at the point of my life, and full disclosure, I'm 37 years old, and I am no longer the bloodlusting 20-year-old, 21-year-old, or even when ECW was in its heyday in '97. I'm not the 17-year-old guy who, and maybe it's just because it's not my market, or I'm not the target audience anymore.
Right.
But I don't want to see people go through shards of glass. I don't want to see athletes leaving the blood out on the mat for the sake of entertainment.
Right.
It's akin to what Foley had said previously about ECW fans being bloodthirsty. Is it worth it? As a fan, you don't think, wow, man, 20 years from now, like look at Sabu. We all know that Sabu has a GoFundMe,
Mm-hmm.
for his various operations that he needs. And to be quite fair, it's sad,
Yeah.
for a man who has put himself through tables and glass and barbed wire. Same with Terry Funk, man. Switching gears for 2 seconds, if you saw the Bernard Hopkins fight this past
Oh
weekend,
man.
where he got knocked through the ropes, that is a telltale sign for a boxer of 50 some odd years old that needs to hang them up. I don't want to see the day where Sabu is like holding a kidney, or Terry Funk is literally holding a kneecap, in the middle of a match, or in a walker just to get to the ring. And we've covered this on Last Mark Standing, where at what point does it get sad?
Right.
For a wrestler when they hit that stage, when they're not in the WWE anymore, they're not in the limelight, and the indies are their only real source of income aside from trade shows or autograph signing.
Mm-hmm.
Really depressing. And really get sad. And for those that want to chime in, you can always tweet the show at the Last Mark Podcast. Tweet me at Dare to be Damian, and Trina at the Marky Smark.
Mm-hmm.
But in reality, it's just sad. So when you tell me about CZW, I'm just getting depressed.
I know, but I think that's because you're thinking of the old ECW guys, and it's true. Sabu, like Tommy Dreamer, they're all still wrestling. So my defense of CZW is like, it's not super old guys. Like these are all athletes like in the prime of their careers. And that's why it is worth watching. I wouldn't maybe suggest that you go to an event, like if you're not into that, because again, the crowd's not going to be your type of crowd. The whole ambiance is not going to be your type of thing. But I'll say, for example, the match right before the main event in Cage of Death was Lio Rush versus Sami Callihan. And it was so
and I'll get to Lio Rush.
Amazing. It was so, and I know Lio Rush like a little bit, but like I haven't really watched his work. And I know Sami really well. So it's like watching the two of them was amazing. It was just a fantastic match. And I mean, really, I would tell people, if you're not into the ultra violence, you can still watch really, really good matches. So you can pick and choose. I mean, that's the beauty of this. Like if you go on the internet, you don't have to watch Cage of Death. You can watch just Sami Callihan, Lio Rush, or you can watch like the 6-man tag that was beginning of the show, which was also really good. So, I mean, that's my only defense. I know it's easy to think, because when you say like ultra-violent, ECW is the first thing that comes to your mind, and then you think of Sabu and you think of Tommy Dreamer, and those guys are still, like I said, they're still on the circuit. Like I've been to a Tommy Dreamer match, and I'll say that like at least in the shows that I've gone to and then the indies that I've gone to, those guys are not taking like monster bumps, so they're not bleeding and all this different stuff. Like they're there just to be there, thank God. But I've heard stories, so I'm not saying it totally doesn't exist. Like there are definitely situations that are really sad and horrible. And, so either way, just know that CZW exists. It's an indie. A lot of great wrestlers wrestle there. So if you have favorites, I would check out some of their matches. Like if they're not Cage of Death matches, for example, like the rest of the card was fine. Like in terms of like violence, it was just like a regular show. And then the Cage of Death match was ultra violent for sure. So, so you can check out selective matches. And like I said, if you follow certain wrestlers, a lot of guys go through there. Lio Rush is one of them. I mean, like I am a new Lio Rush fan. I mean, I sort of knew about him before, but now I'm a huge Lio Rush fan.
Mm-hmm. Lio Rush.
Okay. Oh gosh.
Oh.
Oh no, come on.
I am going to take a salty approach.
Oh no.
And as we all know, when yours truly grabs the microphone and goes into salt mode, salt gets tossed everywhere. And the sodium intake is a lot for some people to take. So here's your salty warning now.
So should I grab my shovel? Are we burying him?
Oh wait, no. Just
my salty shovel.
Let it ride for a minute. Let it ride.
Oh,
let
God.
it ride.
Okay, all right.
At House of Glory 6 in Jamaica, Queens, yesterday, I had the pleasure for the first time front row, because I had seen him previously in Ring of Honor. Mm-hmm. I saw Lio Rush for the first time up close and personal. What I expected to see was a spot fest. What I expected to see was a flippy shit match, to borrow Vader's term. Now, Now, a lot of that might have to go with the person he was wrestling with, and he is a personal favorite of mine, Ken Broadway of House of Glory.
Mhm.
If you don't know who Cash Flow Ken Broadway is, you need to understand. They have put this man where I have seen live. They have put him with Tony Nese, Zack Sabre Jr., Matt Tremont from CZW.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And yesterday, Leo Rush. And they also in the past I put him, I don't know if it's JT Dunn or it's JT Dunn.
It's JT Dunn, yeah.
Yeah, death by elbow kind of thing. Yeah.
Mhm.
This guy, he just delivers. I'm gonna start calling him the mailman because this man just delivers. Rain, sleet, snow, hail, smarks, nerds, dorks, dweebs, anybody. The gimmick is made. It is made to hate. He is the quintessential money throwing impresario type.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even gonna say he's not even entertainer. The gimmick is he's from money making Manhattan. What he does in Manhattan, I don't know. Maybe he's a hustle man. Maybe he's got some real estate in Manhattan. Maybe he I don't know. But the gimmick is you're destined to hate him, and he looks like Wesley Snipes from Blade.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just throw that part out there.
Yeah, he's got like these light eyes.
No, it's the hair, the mohawk.
For you, okay. I definitely agree with the comparison.
Yeah, he has the light eyes, but for me, it's the mohawk.
Mm-hmm.
And he's an athletic, old school, dirty heel.
Yes.
Think Ric Flair. Bear with me here.
Oh
think Ric Flair in terms of he has a posse or crew or the Horsemen or whatever you want to call it. He has a stable. They always get involved in matches, and it makes you hate them. But by hook or by crook, you hate Ken Broadway a lot more. But I digress. Him against Leo Rush. I expected it to be a spot fest. Somersault here, plancha there, tope suicida this place. You know I have the O scale, right, Trina?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
For hard-hitting matches, there is the Damian O scale when I'm watching a match live. That match alone got 34 O's from me.
Whoa.
34.
There's my O.
And you can ask friend of the show, Rick Castle, because I kid you not.
Huh.
The chops, the moves, the overhand slaps to each other's faces.
Goosebumps right now.
The kicks, the boots, the elbows, the knee strikes. Wow. Holy
Oh my God, I gotta find this match. I gotta find this.
Find it. House of Glory 6, Leo Rush versus Ken Broadway. Leo Rush surprised the hell out of me. I thought it was gonna be a spot fest, and you know what? I knew he was gonna put Broadway over.
Mm-hmm.
But man, oh man, the false finishes.
Mm-hmm.
When you say 2 9/10, it was 2 9/10.
Wow.
Of kickouts on both sides.
So need to see this now.
and then if you follow House of Glory, you know there's a thing between two of the squad members and Leroy Green.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. And Matt Travis, who I freaking despise. He actually took our Last Mark Standing posters and threw it at other people.
What?
So yeah, I bought my Last Mark Standing flyers to House of Glory, and Matt Travis took it from me, ripped it up, crumpled it, and threw it at other fans in their face.
Beautiful heel move
to get more heel heat.
There we go. Yeah. Okay.
And like people were thinking, do it again, and Rick Castle's over here like, well, he has more, so I pull out 2 more. What does Matt Travis do? He takes those out of my hand and throws it at other fans, and I'm thinking, am I helping a heel get over even more? Like, am I switching to the dark side here? That's just a question I thought.
Right.
But back to the story, and I'm sorry for jumping around, but it was just that amazing. Like everything, if you're a wrestling purist, and you enjoy a good story being told.
Right.
It was told from all aspects. You had the story in the ring. You had the story with the stable outside of the ring, where Leroy finally has enough of Matt Travis's garbage and decks him in the mouth, and the whole crowd's popping. And Azura nightclub can only fit about 1,700 people, and when we say general admission was standing room, general admission was indeed standing room. So there was a few. How did I tell it to Hokai? They smelt a little rank
Yes.
a couple of folk.
Yes. I saw that on Twitter.
They was a little,
people
yeah,
definitely
they was a little
commented about that. Yeah. Especially during when the Hardys were out with the delete chants, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I will transition to that eventually, but let me just put this on a little bow for people.
Yeah.
For me, that was the indie match of the year.
Oh, shut up. Oh my God.
I told this to Hokai. I said, my opinion, Damian Salty G indie pop opinion. And if you saw my promo post show on my Twitter at Dare to be Damian, you know why I feel that way. It was the indie match of the year. It had psychology, it had strong style, it had athleticism, it had all the things that make me personally, an independent wrestling fan.
Oof.
So if you do yourself a favor, Ken Broadway versus Lio Rush, House of Glory 6, Jamaica Queens on last night, front row representing Last Mark Podcast and Indie Pop. Holy fudge buckets. That was the indie match of the year for me.
Wow. Oh my God. Seriously. I am so goosebumps. Like I have to see this match like right now. That's amazing. And I believe it. I haven't seen Ken Broadway yet, but after the match between Sami Callihan and Lio Rush, I'm like, I can believe that because, it's interesting. You said you thought you maybe expected a spot fest. That's not what happened with Sami also. Sami has a really hard hitting style. And so they had a hard match. And so now I'm really super excited to see this, now I want to go to House of Glory next year. Like I want to go to that last December show.
Yeah. When it's their version of WrestleMania, you have to go. You have to go with me. It's their version of WrestleMania. And did you read my tweet about their next pay-per-view or their next event?
No, I didn't see it.
While we're out pubbing Glory Pro in February, who they have wrestling at House of Glory?
Wait, is it the night before? It's the night before, isn't it? Oh my God, that's right. Because people were like, "Oh, I already have my tickets." Who is it?
Alberto El Patron.
Oh, El Patron. Oh my God.
Oh. And you and I both know he's appreciated in real wrestling circles.
Oh yeah.
His style is appreciated in wrestling circles.
Wow.
So yeah,
I don't know.
While we're in St. Louis and Alton, Illinois,
you
Glory
can, you can fly in the morning.
No, I'm not doing that. You know why I'm not doing
that. Oh man. Oh, wow.
Yeah. So if any indie pop fans out there or any Last Mark Standing fans are going to go to the House of Glory event,
yes,
February 18th, go in my spirit, please. Just take notes. I will channel my strength to you, and you can have the Damian O scale. Just enjoy the show. That's all I'm going to say for that.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I love it.
Allow me to talk about the main event because that wasn't even the main event. Oh, and before I even go to the main event, now we got some salt.
Yeah.
We got some salt. Are you familiar with Eddie Edwards, Trina?
You know what? I'm only familiar in that, I think we follow each other on Twitter. That's it. I don't really watch his stuff.
Okay. For those who don't know, Eddie Edwards is the current TNA World Heavyweight Champion. And he, along with Davey Richards, make up the Wolves, or the American Pit Bulls or the American Wolves or whatever you want to call them. They were typecast as tag team wrestlers, but because I believe Davey's hurt, so they kind of just said, sorry, I'm still battling my cold. They sent Richards out on his own. Eddie Edwards out on his own. So his match was against the House of Glory heavyweight champion, Anthony Gangone, otherwise known as the Rogue.
I don't
get
know.
ready, Trina. Get ready. And I want everyone from Indie Pop and Last Mark to really listen to what I'm about to tell you.
Oh my God.
There are wrestlers I can't stand in a good way because they do their jobs well. Anthony Gangone is in my opinion, the worst independent wrestler who's in the main event spot I have ever seen in my life.
Shade.
And I said it on Twitter to the point where the on-air GM of House of Glory tweeted me back. He goes, "Don't worry about it because I have the belt now," because that was part of the storyline.
Oh my goodness.
Eddie Edwards went up against Anthony Gangone, and the best I can say for that match was that Eddie Edwards, even though not many people know him as a single star, he did his thing in the ring. You could tell he's a really good tactician. He's very fluid. He hits the spots well. He has good selling ability. Like, if you looked at him, you would think he's Evan Bourne or Matt Sydal 2.0.
Oh, cool. Okay.
0.5, like facially.
Yeah. Right.
But he sells well. He's a well-rounded wrestler. I think TNA is a good spot for him. I think the Indies are a great spot for him. I don't want him to go to WWE or NXT. I don't think he'll be appreciated. But he carried that match because Anthony Gangone, in my opinion, is garbage as a main event heel.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. As a main event. Yes. Okay. I can believe that. I mean, I don't want to bury anybody, but I can believe that somebody doesn't. Yeah. There are people out there who don't deserve to be in the main event.
Yeah. He don't got it. Whatever it is, he don't got it. And the reason why he doesn't got it is because I was chanting boring.
Oh, no. I know of all the people. I know that it must have been really, really bad for you to do that.
I was like, boring. And the best part of the match, besides when it was over, was the chance of Dollar Shave Club for Anthony Gangone to shave his chest hair. So it went from shave your chest hair to Dollar Shave Club. And I thought that was an interesting chant to the point where I broke character and started laughing hysterically because I thought I didn't drink last night. I did not drink. So this was me bone sober watching this event because I wanted to be coherent.
The main event for House of Glory?
No, the main event was the Dudleys and the Hardys, but I'll get to that. I just want to say that was the bridge match.
Right. Okay. So it was in a main event spot.
Yeah, it was in a main event spot.
Yeah.
Gangone throws really soft punches. I don't know if his gimmick is that he just wins by cheating, because then fine. But as a wrestler, nope.
Yeah, now I have to see his matches. I have to pull him up after this.
and he's got an assistant or a manager or like a corner man called Chupa, who I call Chupacabra because it just sounds cool. But every time I see Chupa, he's in the same black shirt and it's always wrinkled. It looks like he just took it off the rack and threw it on. But Chupa always helps him win. And then there was a dusty finish where the ref got knocked out. And, a second ref came in, counted the 3 for Eddie Edwards. We all thought we had a House of Glory new champion. But I told everybody around me, I was like, look at the first ref. He's waving it off from his groggy state, quote unquote.
Right.
And then we had the first ref overrules second ref. So thusly, title still stays with Anthony Gangone. But the best part after the match was the acting GM, Rob, who follows me on Twitter and I follow him. And big shout out Rob for always making me feel welcome. Hit Gangone with the belt and took the belt away. Literally just jacked him with the belt and ran, because the storyline was they had an agreement where Gangone wanted his own this, his own that. He wanted he had like a 3-match contract. And this match was the 3rd match in the 3-match contract. So in the storyline, the title might be vacant. So let's hope so, because I do not want to see Anthony Gangone representing my favorite New York Wrestling Federation. Don't do that. Don't.
Oh, he sounds very Roman Reigns-esque.
He wishes he was Roman Reigns.
Oh my God. Now I totally need to see this guy. See, this is what we want. We want you guys to go and check out clips of these wrestlers after we talk about them on Indie Pop. So check out Leo Rush, you check out Ken Broadway, and check out Anthony Gangone. See how much he sucks.
Yeah, and then check out Eddie Edwards too, because like I said, he is a very polished wrestler, and I think TNA doesn't do him justice. But now for the main event. And the main event was Private Party versus versus the Dudleys versus the Broken Hardys in full Broken Hardy gimmick with Brother Nero against I'm gonna get their names wrong.
WEFB. Oh God!
Yeah, and forgive me, they're part of Team Pazuzu, thanks to Larry Legend, who I had a very interesting back and forth. For those that don't know who Larry Legend is, he is a ring announcer, manager type featured in Ring of Honor and various independent wrestling federations. But if you close your eyes, he sounds like Joey Styles.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, but the thing is, he's black. So if people don't, they're like, he don't look like. I said he sounds like Joey Styles. Listen to me carefully. He sounds like Joey Styles.
If you want to hear us discuss more about the fact that, we'll talk about it on Last Mark Standing. Follow us over there. We'll talk about it.
Right. We'll talk about that more. Yeah. EYFBO. Thank you. Because I was going to start looking for it. So EYFBO, Private Party, who are two of the more up and coming teams in the Northeast.
Yeah. These are young guys.
Team wrestling. Yeah. They're really good. I mean, they are really good at what they do. And I have a great appreciation for what they do. But the main event here was the Dudleys and the Hardys one more time. The Dudleys came out representing Brooklyn. So I think that's where Dudleyville is located. It's located in Brooklyn.
That's kind of ironic.
Last night.
Is it Williamsburg?
No, it's like old school Brooklyn. Like old school Brooklyn, because we specify.
Yeah. Oh, right. The Hassan area.
Quick Bubba Ray story. Before the event started, they played Glorious, Bobby Roode's theme song.
Yeah.
So Bubba took a break from doing meet and greets to look at the crowd as they sang Glorious, and he looked so disgusted.
Perfect.
He looked straight up salty Damian G-esque.
I love it.
While looking at the crowd sing Glorious, and made me believe, does he have heat with Bobby Roode in their dealings in TNA with beer money?
That's beautiful.
Like, that just gave me something to think about. So anyway, the match itself, you knew that the young teams were going to carry it, and they did. And at spots, it goes back to the Cody thing that I told you about last week here on Indie Pop, where he wrestled a very WWE style. Well, in this case, the Hardys and the Dudleys were more character based. They didn't do a lot of spots, but they did their spots. And believe me when I tell you, I was 15 years old all over again.
I love it so much. I love it so much.
I was screaming. You know me. So I remember NXT.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, remember NXT Brooklyn, how I was for NXT Brooklyn. Take that and multiply it by 20, and you got me with the Hardys cheesily doing the delete chant, cheesily throwing up the 3D when the fake bomb goes off.
Get the tables.
Screamed out, get the tables. And funny thing with that was that House of Glory didn't know where the table was.
Oh,
they couldn't find it.
Oh, that kills it. That's a boner killer.
Yeah, and I'm like, how do you not know where the table is?
I know, right? If you have the Dudleys, there better be a table ready. Come on, do your job. You had one
job. It was good. Yeah, you had one job, and that was to bring a table, and you didn't do it, so you failed miserably. But to be able to watch this, to be able to watch Matt Hardy reinvent himself at the age he is, for Brother Nero to not be Willow, thank God, and just be a safer version of Jeff Hardy. Because when we talked about this, when these older wrestlers hit that spot, they have to evolve.
Yeah,
they have to either evolve or get left behind. So the Hardys reinvented themselves, and the Dudleys didn't come out in camouflage. They came out in like Falls Count Anywhere style clothes, jeans, boots, taped fists, gloves, like they were ready for a fight. But when I tell you, Trina, when I tell you, it wasn't even the fact that the in-ring work was good. It was great from Private Party and
EY,
OBY. I'm sorry, Obi-Wan Kenobi, whatever whatever they are. Guys, forgive me. Funky Monkey, forgive me. Godstick, forgive me. But they carried the match. But when those teams hit, you could just feel it. And I don't want to be cliche and saying there was electricity, but there was so much electricity. No. And I'm just there thinking, holy fudge buckets. 16 years after their first WrestleMania match with Edge and Christian and those guys in 2000, 2016, they're still doing it, and they're not sucking. They're doing it properly. Like
oh my gosh,
they're giving it to the business, but they're giving it in a proper way, to the point where I did delete chants, and now I can't stop doing like but Matt Hardy does, and I can't stop doing that now, and now people are getting annoyed by me.
Right. No, I mean both the Dudleys and the Hardys both tweeted out that was a magical moment for them. So I think whatever you felt, I think whatever you felt was felt by the wrestlers as well, for sure.
It really was, because they did a post-match promo. and like you cared, but
Mm,
EFYOB, or bring your own booze, or whatever you want to call them.
yes.
They're the ones that won the tag team titles, and you do the whole shaking of the hands, because the Hardys were the ones that went into the event as the tag team champs. So they lost the belts, they put over the younger team, whatever the case may be. But there was a post-match promo. Bubba cuts this. I'm thinking Bubba's gonna eviscerate them. He's like, no, I'm gonna shake my hand. I'll be the first to shake your hand to say you earned it. You did it the right way. And then EFYOB or EFOYB, whatever, leaves and then comes back, and then they bum rush the Hardys and the Dudleys. So they ain't gonna take that line down.
Mm-hmm.
So what winds up happening is that they hit all their spots on this team. You know how like at the end of house shows, you hit all your spots on the heel to send the crowd home happy?
Mm-hmm.
Cena hits an AA, Ambrose hits a Dirty Deeds.
Right, exactly. And the crowd just pops and you're just like, oh, magical feelings.
It's a game. Exactly. So that's what the Dudleys and the Hardys did. You saw a twist of fate. You saw a Swanton Bomb. You saw a 3D. You saw the was up headbutt.
Oh my God. I would have lost my mind. Oh my God.
And we lost our mind. And Trina, you can ask all of our friends who were at the event beside me. It was special. And then after that, after the beatdown of EFOYB or whatever,
EYFBO. Let's give them their due.
EYFBI. There we go. The full-blooded Italians who happen to be Puerto Rican.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of promo talking about the history of the Dudleys and the Hardys. And I have to admit, and I know this isn't completely independent, but because it transpired in an independent arena,
right, and this is why we
can talk about it here on Indie Pop. So it's not really crossing over. So anyone who thinks, hey, we're going mainstream, we're not. It happened at an indie show, and you can really, and I'm actually getting teared up about it now when I think about it, because you can see the gratitude of not only the audience, but of the performers, of the Dudleys, of the Hardys, and them chronicling what they went through. And then people were screaming, Edge and Christian, like, don't forget Edge and Christian. And then Bubba kind of fucked with the crowd and was like, oh, we have a surprise for you. And people are like, oh. And I'm thinking, really? They work for McMahon. They're not going to pop out. So he's like, oh, I'm just kidding. Ha, ha, ha. But they chronicled TLC. They chronicled the fact that this may be the last time, because Devon works as a road agent for McMahon,
McMahon, yeah.
McMahon, as Matt so eloquently put it. And then Devon grabs the mic and says, hey, Vince, he said it, not me. I didn't do it. I don't want to get in trouble. But it was just a magical moment. And, they did the lap around the front row. And me, I don't get really amped up to meet wrestlers or to take pictures. Mm-hmm. But the fact that I was able to shake Devon Dudley's hand, the fact that I was able to shake Jeff Hardy's hand, and Rick took a cool picture with him, it was special to me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It was special because 15-year-old Damian, or whatever-year-old Damian that watched, the first TLC match, relived his childhood. And we talked about our childhoods this past week on Last Mark Standing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It meant a lot more to me than probably I would like to admit, but it made me feel all the warm fuzzies.
There you go.
I am so honored to have been a part of it. And I'm so honored to be able to cover this for this show, for Indie Pop on New Age Insiders, to be able to share with you my feelings, my warmth, because that's what Last Mark Standing is about.
Right. This is the spirit of wrestling right here.
Exactly. The spirit of wrestling, past, present, and future. That makes it all worthwhile as a wrestling fan.
I'm a little choked up, actually. I didn't even experience it. I'm a little choked up because to me, like, that's beautiful that you experience that, because that, these are the things that I've been trying to get you to experience and to feel. And, if you listen to Last Mark Standing, this is how I get about almost everything, Ciampa Gargano, like these are all the things that I get so emotional about. And, I'm a little choked up now knowing that Damian got to experience that, because I know exactly what he's talking about. It's that feeling of being 15 again, or 16 or whatever, and letting yourself like completely let go and just feel that feeling the way you used to feel it. Unabashedly marking out.
That's what I could put it. I marked out so much at House of Glory where I barely sat down. There was so many matches where I barely sat down And you know me, normally I'm a really respectful fan.
Mhm.
I'm a very happy fan. But in my case, it was like, nope, I'm going to mark out. I'm going to be that guy. I'm
Right,
going to
you
be the
lose
fan.
yourself.
I lost myself. Exactly. I completely lost myself.
Oh
And
my
that doesn't
God.
happen very often.
Yeah. And that's why we as wrestling fans are different than any other type of fandom, because we allow ourselves to have those moments. Like the fact that you are a 37-year-old man, who does go through, life things and work things and all this different stuff. I mean, before we went on air, you were telling me, I think some of my excitement's been dampened because of life stuff. But I can hear it in your voice. I think, like you're reliving this moment from last night. And the fact that you let yourself go and let yourself mark out fully and be that kid again. I mean, like, I know people watch sports and things like that, and they have great moments. Your team wins the Super Bowl or whatever, the World Series, but this is different. Like this is like when your team wins the Super Bowl, you don't harken back to a time when you were, like 12 or 13 years old. But literally, when you mark out like this as a wrestling fan, that's what you feel like. You feel like you 15 again. And that's like, it's addicting.
That's a great way to put it.
I'm so serious because it's like I feel bad, like, for people who are fans of other things because they don't experience what we experience. Because you're talking about it, and I remember when the Dudleys came back to WWE, and that was my big mark out moment of the year. Because I had no idea, I hadn't been following wrestling the way that I follow it now. So I had no idea that they were going to come out. And it's just like, I felt like I was 16 again, like just seeing them on WWE again and seeing all their stuff, like Devon, get the tables. Like I freaked out. And so I can feel it, like listening to you talk about it from last night. I know what you're feeling, and you're just telling me about it.
Right.
And this is awesome. I mean, this is why it's worth going to indie shows, because guys like the Hardys and the Dudleys still work, these events. And so you have these chances to like relive your childhood. When you can't do it in WWE, you can do it at House of Glory. Like, come on, this is amazing.
Like even the meet and greet, the line for the Dudleys and the Hardys it kept going for 2 hours. While the first matches were going, they were still doing the meet and greets. There was so many people waiting just to get in to meet the Dudleys and the Hardys. And it just shows you, like, there are so many wrestling fans out there, old, young, middle-aged, just starting. And it gives me hope as a wrestling fan to be able to pass that down for 4 people and 2 people. And with that, on Friday, we took an independent wrestling virgin to his first indie show. Myself and Rick Castle, and where I was so high up on up on House of Glory, I'm a little low for BCW, and it's not nothing against the performers.
No, I mean, and this will happen. Like
this happens.
It happens.
And let me set the stage for you. I get out of work 6:00. I take an Uber to the Elks Lodge, and the Elks Lodge is home for a lot of indie shows, and it's like a haven for independent wrestling in Elm. I don't know if it's Elmhurst or Woodside or whatever, but it's in Queens, New York. So I get there. I get a text from Rick Castle. He tells me, "Yo, D, there's no ring." I said, "What?" He goes, "The ring ain't here." What do you mean the ring ain't there? He goes, he takes a picture where the ring's supposed to be. In the middle of the arena, there ain't no ring, Trina.
Huh? I've heard of stories like this. I've never seen it in person. Oh my God.
There's fans there. There's fans there.
Yeah, are there wrestlers?
But there's no ring.
Oh my God.
There's talent just sitting around.
Oh man.
But there's no ring.
Wow.
I just want that to sit in your head for a second. There was no ring, folks. So imagine if you're a fledgling organization and really they're sponsored by NYCC. It looked really bad.
I feel really bad.
They looked on, and guys, forgive me. And I met the promoter. He's friends with guys from Tier 1. It looked really bad. But I didn't feel bad for the town because I knew they would deliver.
Right. But once the ring got put up, yeah.
Yeah, once the ring up. But that hour it took, I as a wrestling fan, I'm thinking,
you were turned off.
Yep, this is as indie as you can get.
Right.
And I told the person, our friend Matty Ice, we told him, like, look, This is not indicative of a typical indie show. And he's laughing because he thinks this is amazing. He thought it was amazing. Like, dude.
He's like, oh, this is so spectacularly ratchet. Like,
yes, exactly. The ring isn't showing up. How great is this?
Right.
And I'm thinking, Matt, like, really, bro, the ring's not here. And all right, let's go to the bar. So we go and we come out. They're setting up the ring. All right, we sit down. So the matches start. And there's more crap. And I'm not going to get into the minutia of it because, we're pressed for time. But the matches itself, they kind of delivered. They kind of didn't. There was some people that I think have talent. There's some I didn't. It didn't resonate at all. Pinky Sanchez, I don't know if you know who that is, Trina, but think of him as a skinny cross between Kane and Big Cass. He looks like Big Cass. He's got like this demonic, like demon androgynous gimmick going on. But he's captivating.
Okay.
He was a special guest referee for one match, and he wore a crop top in his referee shirt.
Wow.
And it was kind of he was like kind of seducing the one wrestler he was like feuding with, and like he did the over exaggerated referee calls where he's like, oh wait, let me sashay over and make the count really slowly.
Oh, I like this guy already. I love it. Oh
yeah, no. Look up Pinky Sanchez, real chill dude. We met him after the show, took some pictures with us. He's also down with Larry Legend's group. So him and EFYOB are like part of the stable.
Right.
I know I got the name wrong again. I'm sorry, but like I was entranced by him.
Okay.
He looks like he's 110 pounds soaking wet. But that dude has got something. Maybe as a referee down the road or as a manager.
Right.
I think he's got something.
Look, and
another guy.
This is why this is why we want you guys to support indie wrestling, because, organizations like this, they need help. Like they need people to like set up a ring and things like that. And, Pinky Sanchez needs to go over and things like, so that's why we advocate this so much. Exactly.
Another personal favorite of mine, Darius Carter. Wrestling's richest prize. Think of him as he's a cross between Alberto Del Rio and Steve Urkel. He actually caused a woman to be ejected from the arena. For those who were in attendance, there was a woman dressed in I want to say a Snuggie, or I guess a onesie. And she doesn't like Darius Carter. And she had told a friend of mine previously that why she doesn't like Darius Carter. And apparently he like shimmed her off to the point where she hits him in the leg or in the foot. And security's like, yeah, we got to get you out of here. To the point where her fiance is hulking up in the background, like getting mad that his fiance was evicted from the arena. So that's how much heat Darius Carter has, to the point where he got someone ejected. It was a heel on heel match against the Greek god Papa Dot. I'm not a big fan of Papa Don. I think he's just a generic Bobby Roode gimmick with like Ric Flair because he's Greek. It's like, shut up, be quiet. It was dumb. But Darius Carter is now the tier 1 heavyweight champion. So if you get a chance to check out tier 1 wrestling, Trina, you know about tier 1 because of Desmond.
Yeah.
So that federation's on the come up also. And just, that was it. Like, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Maxwell Jacob Feinstein. He is signed to CZW.
He is signed to CZW.
You know him, right?
And
Tina?
I do know him because he does wrestle at Rockstar. Yeah.
Yes.
So I've met him before. He probably doesn't remember me, but
that guy. If you look at my Twitter at Dare to Be Damian, he punked Rick Castle to buy a shirt just by looking at him in the bar area and saying, "Hey, where's your shirt?" He's like, "Oh, I got it underneath. Show me your shirt." He goes, "That's not my shirt." He goes, "No, it isn't." He goes, "That's a problem. Fix it."
I like
and
this.
He just gave him this and Rick's a big dude. Rick's like 6'2", 260, 6'3", 260. And he goes, and what does Rick do after the show? He buys a shirt.
Yeah, because Feinstein is like shorter. Like he's not even, he's maybe 6 feet. Maybe. So I don't know, like he's not a big guy. He's definitely smaller than Rick Castle for sure. Right. Exactly. Yeah. I love that. That is fantastic. I mean, to me, that's like selling all the time. You know what I mean? Like never breaking character. And That's fantastic. So next time I see that guy, for sure, I'm gonna pay attention because that's really awesome. I really like that.
And all his matches, he is a Kevin Owens-esque heel where he can back it up in the ring. And he was in a submission match against a guy called Sebastian Cage.
Mhm.
Sebastian Cage came out looking like a very slim Johnny Cage, right
Mhm.
down to everything, like the whole Johnny Cage from Mortal Kombat, like attire.
Mhm.
And they had a submission match. And I learned that, well, I'm not going to break kayfabe. I'll tell you after the show, Trina, what happened. But MJF, he's legit. If you like heels who are very old schooly, but they can work, but they don't break kayfabe, and it's just you want to hate him, but you respect him because he's so good at what he does, and you can't hate him, but you do because he's a freaking heel, and it's great. See, that's the difference between him and Anthony Gangone. Anthony Gangone, I'm bored by. MJF, I want to hate him because he's so good. That's the difference.
That's awesome.
But all in all, that show, BCW, what was for what it was.
It's a hot mess. I mean,
it was a hot mess, but it was a fun hot mess. And the virgin we took, Matty Ice, wants to go with us to other wrestling events now.
Perfect.
He's
Perfect.
He's hooked. And he bought an MJF shirt too.
Oh, good. Look at this. You're converting people. I love it. I really love it. I mean, look, not everyone's going to be a winner. Not every event's going to be, House of Glory 16. And you still got to go to these, because of these guys that are on the come up, and you got to support them. And, they appreciate you going to a hot mess event almost more than they would like a House of Glory event, because people are going to go to House of Glory anyway. It's these smaller shows where the ring's not even constructed, that they need like their ride or dies to be in the crowd and like cheering for them or trying to put them over like this. It's not going to be fantastic all the time. Obviously, like, there are times when you look at the ring and it's not up and you're like, welcome to indie wrestling. I know when Damian went to one of his first indie shows, I'm not going to say which one, he texted me and he was like, there are 20 people here and it smells like piss. And I'm just like, all I texted him back was, welcome to indie wrestling. Because
that.
Like it all encapsulates that. Like you'll have House of Glory, the Hardys versus the Dudleys, and then you'll have like 20 people in like a tiny room that smells like piss. Like, PWG is tiny, and I've heard that it smells horrible there too. Like, so it's not going to be always like House of Glory's 1,700 people. You might be in a place that's ratchet and smells like piss. But that's the beauty of it, because if you like these wrestlers, because like you said, Feinstein like is signed to CCW, so you don't have to watch Cage of Death. You can just follow his matches there. EYFBO is also at CCW. They lost their championships last week to Desmond Xavier and Zachary Wentz, who are two of my favorite young guys. And so, like, you don't have to be a fan of a certain federation or organization or watch a Cage of Death match if you don't want to, but you can support these guys when they're in the smaller venues, smaller events. I'm so glad that you made a new fan. I'm so excited. And I love that you met this guy, because I've only met him once. I think I went to a Rockstar event and I've met him one time. He was a really nice guy. And I love to see that already in the months since I've seen him, he's progressed. I mean, because he was kind of shy, I think, the first time I met him. And to know that he's now walking up to people and like saying, buy my shirt. Well, I don't know. Maybe I was too intimidating. Who knows? But, to know that he does that now, like, I have so much more respect for him. That's awesome.
And you want to hear another secret?
Yes.
I bought a shirt too.
Oh my God. Oh my God. He made you all buy shirts. You all have a shirt.
Well, he didn't make me buy the shirt. I want to support the guy. So I
you like
bought
the hustle.
Shirt.
Right. You like the hustle.
And plus I saved him from a drunken Santa Claus.
Okay.
He had to break
best friends, essentially.
Yeah, he had to break kayfabe because I'm seeing him being interviewed by this really drunk Santa. And I'm like,
interviewed,
trying to get his a stream on his phone.
Really?
And he was wasted. Yeah. And it was just sad. So I go over and I'm thinking, let me buy a shirt to try to get Feinstein away from this guy. And it worked. I got Feinstein away from him, and he's like, you want to buy a shirt? Like looking at me like, please save me. And I said, yes, I do. And that saved him from it. So I'd like to think I did my good deed, but at the same time, it was good to support the wrestler and buy the shirt. I have one too many wrestling shirts at this point. I don't think I can afford them. I just don't have space for them. So If I don't buy your shirt at an event, guys, forgive me. I have my favorites. I will always support. If they have a new shirt, I'd get it. But if you don't got merch, I'd rather you just like take a picture with me. I'll pay for the picture.
Mm.
But I got no more space for shirts,
Yeah,
man.
I know. I took a picture of because I was looking for a shirt. I think I was going somewhere for the weekend and I was looking for a specific shirt and it made me take all my shirts out and it was just like overflowing. And that was just from this year. So, it's been crazy. And to the point because we are where we are in our podcasting in our show that people are giving me shirts. And so it's just the pile is just growing and growing and growing. Yeah, I know. So, but this is so exciting. I really love that you had a good time.
I did. And to be fair, I don't know when the next event I'm going to is. I think I need to take a break. And here's a little precursor and warning to the audience of Indie Pop.
Mm-hmm.
I will be taking a social media hiatus as well as an event hiatus in the next couple of weeks, the holiday
Mm-hmm.
season. I have a vacation coming up. Trina and I have talked about this, and I'm going to disconnect for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
So this may be the last show I do until like mid-January.
Mm-hmm.
So if I could say I went out on top for 2016, I definitely went out on top for 2016. It was a great show. I know there's talk about the New Age Insiders and us going to CZW together. If they set that up, maybe I'll go. Guys. So if you want to bring Indie Pop, if you want to bring the Last Mark Standing to an indie show down by you guys, let us know. We'll try to work something out.
Oh yeah, no, I mean totally for sure. I mean we will, especially if we have a great time. We will put you over for sure. So, obviously you guys, if you listen to Last Mark Standing and Indie Pop, my favorites. I love AEW, which I will be going to in about a week. And I'm actually going to go back to Rockstar, which is another one of my favorites. So, it won't be silence. So Damian's going to take his break. I may be able to cover Indie Pop while he's gone. So we'll see.
Well, no. I will be here to do the
Mm-hmm.
show. I just won't be going to shows. So
Mm-hmm.
This is what I want the audience to do. I want the listeners to do. If you see a match that happens, sort of like I'm describing with the Ken Broadway Leo Rush match,
Mm-hmm.
and you want me to look at it and you want me to watch it and critique it and give the O scale or something like that, feel free to tweet me at Dare to Be Damon. I want to do that actually.
Mm-hmm.
I teased that during the first episode, but that's something I want to make happen because now that WWE is doing this UK thing,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of UK federations that I know nothing of.
Yeah.
I want to get more involved in
Progress
globally. Progress. Yes. The WCPW, which I watch often. I want to be more involved in these types of shows. So while I won't be attending shows, I will be appearing on Indie Pop, but I want to be able to contribute without going to shows. So if you got a match, tweet me at Dare to Be Damon or tweet us at Last Mark Podcast, and I will gladly critique it, watch it, and have my own thoughts and feelings on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you can exchange, like opinions about it. It's awesome. Like, let's share some of these matches. Let's get the word out about certain people for sure.
Exactly. So in closing, Ken Broadway, look him up. You need to watch Ken Broadway matches because the talent they give him to work with, he delivers. He's the mailman. So you may think I am being spewing hyperbole, but do me a favor, watch a Ken Broadway match. Watch a Leo Rush match because that guy, he's got it in terms of athleticism.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as his gimmick is he stays true to who he is and not trying to be like forced like a superhero or something like that, I think he'll be very successful. I wouldn't be surprised if and when WWE tries to snatch him up for the Cruiserweight division because God knows they need it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree with you for sure. Ken Broadway is new to me. I still, you've been telling me about him forever, so I have to go see him for sure. But Leo Rush, I echo the same sentiments because his match with Sami Callihan at Cage of Death was fantastic. I won't go as far as Damian and saying it was the best indie match I saw this year, but it's tough because personally, I like to push Sami because he's my favorite. But after watching that match, Leo Rush is going to be big. He's going to be huge.
Oh, yeah.
So 2017 is really going to be a big year for him, I'm sure.
It better be because if not, I'm going to be really, really surprised, man. Like seriously, because that guy's got it. Like we like to say, he's got it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and before I go, there's one more thing. Nikki Heat, friend, a supporter of Last Mark Standing, and a House of Glory graduate. But he uses sign language. He's mute, doesn't speak. Uh, wrestles in a glove because he can't use one of his hands.
Hmm.
So he wrestles one-handed, but he elicits heel heat and face sympathy heat all at the same time. And
Brilliant.
he wrestled a coffin match against Smiley. For those that don't know, Smiley is the masked luchador who is very athletic in his own right, but he looks like he shouldn't move the way he does. They had a coffin match. Smiley was dressed as the Undertaker circa 1996. Not Dead Man, not American Badass. I'm talking about
Yeah.
when he came back from the injury, when he was dressed in the purple.
Yeah.
That's what Smiley was dressed as. And they had a pretty damn good, I want to say, second match of the night. They were a decent match. It was a coffin match, had good spots, a little sloppy at times, but those two on the indie scene, I am so proud to be able to watch those guys, especially Nick Heat, because for what he's an inspiration. Again, mute, speaks the sign language, can only use one hand because he wears a glove on another one, a protective glove. So don't dismiss him because of it. Embrace him and think, holy crap, this guy could put on a decent match with those supposed physical limitations. And as a guy with cerebral palsy, I can appreciate that. Big up to Nick Heat. Definitely a big up to Nick Heat.
I love it. I love it.
So I'd be remiss to not mention our other brethren on the New Age Insiders Network. So as always, Late Night Liam with Liam Stryker, The Inside Perspective with Scotty Slade, DDT Wrestling with my boy Doc, Rant with Ant with friend of Last Mark Standing and part of the elite of the East, as he likes to call us. Ant, again, the Pipe Bomb, McCool and Company, and us, Indie Pop. And if you want to get to know more about us in other wrestling oriented conversation, as wrestling sexism, wrestling sexism today actually put us over really well. And there was an article published today about us and about what we're about. Visit lastmarkstanding.com to find all of our catalog. We're on SoundCloud and iTunes. We have a Patreon page, patreon.com/lastmarkstanding. Check us out. Let us know how we blend psychology, real life, pro wrestling, investigative reporting, passionate. And we got a good show coming up this week just to whet the appetite. Both of us are going to be a little salty. Let's just put that out there right now. So thank you to New Age Insiders for having us on as always. Last Mark Standing here. Myself, dare to be Damian Salty G. You got Heel Trina the Marquis Mark at the Marquis Mark. Last Mark Podcast. Let us know what you thought of the show. And we'll see you next time, folks. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Are you okay? Are we still live?